Hello, you are listening to Dr. Sushma Singh. Today in Unit 6, Liberal Perspective on Development. Let us start our lecture with topic Emergence of Neoliberalism. In the post-war period, even as the Western states were realizing the importance of welfare as an element in public policy, there was recognition of the need for slackening the role of the state in order to facilitate free movement of technology and capital. The most prominent neoliberals are libertarians, enthusiastic advocates of the rights of the individual that are sometimes against those of the coercive state. The chief protagonists are Milton Friedman, Friedrich Hayek, and Robert Noyce. For example, is known for his anti-Keynesian monetarism. A strong advocate of laissez-faire economics, Hayek argues that centralized economic planning threatens liberty and therefore creates conditions for serfdom. He later explains that collectivism is a threat to individual freedom. The ideals of classical liberalism based on the idea of laissez-faire reappeared in the 1980s in the form of liberalization or globalization of production, distribution and consumption arrangements. Over the past couple of decades, there has been some retrenchment in state welfare in a range of Western societies, particularly after realism in the USA and Thatcherism in UK in the 1980s. With the increasing privatization of welfare services and support for private provision dependent on the ability to pay rather than upon need. Towards the end of the 20th century, much as in the 19th century, one of the major battle lines of politics has been between the apostles of economic liberalism and those who favor intervention to protect society. Lately, the postponement of protectionism have become more influential again. This is the substance of the so-called third way, which came to be much talked about at the end of the 1990s. It stands in the position that was once occupied by socialists, and it has brought together the newly elected left-of-center leaders in Europe. Tony Blair of Britain, Lionel Jospin of France, Gerhard Schröder in Germany, and Clinton in United States. The third way could be interpreted as a balanced act to take care of the backwash effect of the great leap forward of capitalism. Industrialization is a precondition of development, which is understood in terms of economic progress, end of traditional values, rise of rationality, removal of mass poverty, spread of liberty and citizenship. The social scientists are worried about the negative impact of the neoliberal phase of development. Castle argued that in the new era of capitalist growth, the focus would shift from industrialization to the network of information and knowledge. The 1998-99 World Bank report mentions that The differences in some important measures of knowledge creation are far greater between rich and poor countries than the difference in income. Certainly, the decline of the manufacturing sector and the rise of service and knowledge-based sector in industrialized countries will pose new questions for development analysts and policymakers in future. Extending the critique of neoliberal development, Kitching comments that the development is an awful process. For Cowan and Shelton, development means ameliorating the disordered faults of progress. Much of the development effort go into ameliorating the problems of poverty, environmental degradation, and social disorder. Development is often equated with the programs for the relief and welfare of poor communities or displaced populations. The international agencies monitoring globalization, the World Bank in particular, are now increasingly laying stress on the integration of poor communities into the global system. Social scientists are engaged in suggesting means to achieve global integration. Chambers, for example, suggests a participative approach to facilitate the involvement of people in the development plans made for them and to empower them in the progress. Chambers has been largely responsible for promoting what is now a large global network or movement concerned with participative rural appraisal (PRA) or participative learning and action (PLA), including idealistic percepts such as handing over the stick to poor communities to allow them to design and run their own development projects. In the Indian context, we see that processes like economic liberalization, democratic decentralization, and participatory development are being experimented at the same time. Here we want to close this lecture. Thanks for listening.